What was the first cryptocurrency system breaking story you wanted to share with us today?
Oh, most definitely. There are plenty, right? So because the world of crypto is so new, even today, at least outside of the echo chambers where I live, Twitter.
Could you tell us about some of the best, worst NFT scams?
Oh, yeah. Right off the top of my head, not really okay, let's start with the scams. So there will be people reaching out to you on Discord, or they would send you some NFT straight away. They say, hey, I sent you this NFT, you could claim it. When you try to claim it, you need to sign a transaction. Nobody verifies what the transaction is unless you are a very good developer.
If you look at how consolidated the cryptocurrency exchanges are now, how do you think it'll change, in the next decade?
They go towards more code-based exchanges like Uniswaps and Sushi Swaps of the world, where it's not somebody holding this. Although Uniswaps and Sushi Swaps have their own set of vulnerabilities because the code doesn't know that the price of one Bitcoin is $40,000. It can be fooled into thinking that the price of one Bitcoin is $4 and it will proceed as you want.
All right. So would you like to take this opportunity to share your private keys?
Of course, right? Private keys, the best area on Twitter right now is if you are ever feeling lonely, tweet the word MetaMask, right? 100 people will automatically message you because these are all bots saying, hey, so are you trying to reach MetaMask support? Fill out this form. It has a very, not really a legit looking. It is a Google form, asks you for a bunch of stuff that looks legit. The last question is, give me your secret key, or share your private key in there, share your secret passphrase in there.
HackerNoon Podcast. Thank you, Zoom Assistant. I am David Smooke, HackerNoon CEO, and today I'm here with someone who started as a HackerNoon blockchain editor and now is running everything blockchain and business development at HackerNoon. Utsav, what's going on in your part of the world?
Hey, David. Thank you for having me on. I'm based out of Goa, India, and my part of the world is usually hot, it's wet, and the electricity is erratic, but hopefully we'll make do.
My part of the world is deciding whether winter should end and spring should start. And spring started for a while, and then it snowed a lot. And I'm actually in a Denver phone booth waiting out the storm.
I've never seen this snow. Yeah.
You never?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'm missing out.
You're going to come to Colorado soon. I guess.
I will.
The thing is, if you come here, it's better in the spring and summer, even though there's no snow. People think about it for snow, but it's just fresh air, high elevation, not too hot, a lot of t-shirt. I'm looking forward to wearing a t-shirt again every day. Step outside in the t-shirt. That's my ideal habitat.
Right. And it makes sense.
All right. Crypto hacks. Let's get into it. What's on your mind here? What was the first cryptocurrency system breaking story you wanted to share with us today?
Oh, most definitely. There are plenty, right? So because the world of crypto is so new, even today, at least outside of the echo chambers where I live, Twitter, and it's very easy to get people to share their secret keys or whatnot. People have now learned, at least in the traditional Web2 world, that they shouldn't share their ATM pins, although sometimes people do. You don't share your one-time passwords or those 2FAs that you get with your banking apps. But with crypto, it becomes decidedly harder for people to stay on track of things, and which is where these scammers live. They have a multiplicity of ways by which they take over your wallets. And because it's decentralized, if they own your wallet, they own your crypto, right? Rule number one of crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. And they take your keys, becomes their wallet, take your money.
Hey, let's pause there for a moment on custodian. This has historically been something that people want with money. They want to say there's a fall guy.
Right.
So it's basically you pay this tax, but if the bank gets robbed, they set up the insurance, you get your money back. It doesn't matter that you were robbed. You know what I mean? So there is some level of the value of the custodian that like maybe crypto's missing, because all it is one person, right? Who's willing to do some sort of insurance ratio risk business of like, if I get robbed, I hold it for you. If I get, you pay me a tiny cut. So I don't know. I just don't think that job will ever fully die. So, and it gives you that FOMO of, if you get hacked, it's someone else's fault, which is just like, custodian's a strange word.
I agree. And like it depends on where you are. Like, for example, you guys in the US have the FDIC, which I presume insures everything, right? It insures the amount lost. Let's say if the bank gets robbed. In India, we have something called the DICGC. It only insures you up to a total sum of 1 lakh rupees, including all of your like sub accounts or whatever you might have, because some people have joint accounts. So 1 lakh rupees for people not in the US is somewhere closer to 120, like 1,200 or like $12,000, something like that. That's all that's insured, right? 1 lakh rupees, 1 rupee. $1 equals 70.
By the government, like the government's institution of bank insurance?
Yeah. That's what you get. And it's India, so there is a lot of bureaucratic red tape. And if you lose money, like you actually have lost money. So you don't get it back. In crypto, there are custodians like HackerNoon sponsor Coinbase. They also serve as the custodians. They like had their IPO. But in the DeFi side of things, what we are trying to do is replace the custodian with a piece of code. That code serves as the custodian, although code is very likely to get hacked, which is what happens, which is why we see hacks worth $600 million worth lost in minutes. For comparison,
are you talking about Axie Infinity?
Yeah, Axie Infinity, man. I love those guys. I'm a holder, by the way, like, or a hodler. But like, yeah, what can I say? Like, yeah, that's the trade-off. Like, you get a custodian which is backed by the government, which takes us back down the slope of backed by the government, which is what fiat means. Do we want that? Because then the bank says, hey, if you are trusting me.
Fiat necessarily means government. It means it's backed in some way that people believe. Fiat, to me, it's no intrinsic value in the asset, but it's somehow all the other humans believe it's worth a similar amount. And you can move it up and down. So it doesn't like, I don't like, the government's been the one to back currencies because it's convenient. If your economy can't grow, if a currency is not trusted, if a currency is trusted, that group will grow.
Right. That makes sense. And like trust is such a relative thing, right? Because you cannot quantify it. And the way we see it, at least in the crypto side, is banks usually say, hey, so you trust me, or rather the government say, okay, because you are trusting me, trust us some more and let us print more money. So trust us to devalue your money to make your lives more, let's say, better, or like to make your lives more prosperous. So inflation, like 1 to 2%, everybody agrees is good.
But I guess the government kind of always had in its pocket before, like, if money is totally devalued, the local business suffers, So before, if the government didn't come in and provide the money, your own, like, how much money how much food you can eat, how much food for your family changes. But now, like, if there's enough alternatives that you can just tap your phone and you can transfer a relative amount of value that you trust is very close to what you just gave up. That's what's changed in 100 years. Like, that's not, I don't think you would have to, 50 years, you still, I guess really before the phone, there really wasn't digital currency, right? I mean, this is the early 90s. There's been ideas in papers, and it's been in sci-fi and digital cash. Like, economists were talking about it in the 50s and the 60s. Like, but no one like pictured it all together of just tapping your phone. Maybe like now you can just walk into Amazon and the Amazon grocery store, and like you see this. Just getting afraid if they steal food, what's going to happen? They're like, no, they just count the whole time. It's like, wow, that is creepy. Like, how many cameras? How does this whole thing work? Everything's counted all the time. All right, maybe that brings us to rug pulls. Rug pool, PULLS, not POOLS.
Right. Although it is interesting, like you get a group of rug pulls and it becomes the rug pool. So like, yeah, that's an idea for the scammers.
Oh, there's
All
got
this
to be
time.
some startup mashup names in there between rug pools and cash floating in swimming pools. You can play with that brand.
Most definitely. So how a rug pull usually works is what happens is they say, okay, so we make a cryptocurrency, it will change the world for you. They market the shit out of it, get the people going. Think of what's happening with Dogecoin, right? Everybody is very bullish about Dogecoin. Elon Musk, probably the smartest man in the world, arguably, shills it a lot because internet points matter to him. What happens with Dogecoin is, which is a copy of the Litecoin, which is a copy of the Bitcoin code. Dogecoin doesn't have a supply cap. So how do you value something which can be printed infinitely, which is being
The
printed,
Federal Reserve in America has been running the same way.
right? But it's backed by the government. The government is elected by the people. They get to choose, okay, whoever.
Yeah, who does choose if another Dogecoin is issued? How does that work?
It works based on probably the code, probably some foundation. Like, I'm not the expert on this, but like it's usually a group of people. It is not a piece of code that does that, but like, yeah, when it happens, more currency gets, let's say, emitted into the market. So now,
I always loved money supply. Like the idea that money supply could be unlimited is an insane. Like I guess in the long run, yeah, maybe humans grow so fast, the supply has to grow so fast. But I think the Bitcoin approach of telling everyone what the money supply will be at an absolute max, and you can further divide these assets if you want. We can't go up above 21 million Bitcoins, but you can make a Satoshi smaller and smaller and get more divisions of the primary asset. But what you know is at the top, the very primary asset has exactly this maximum money supply, and that allows everyone to measure value at the top. If you can't measure what the money supply is and you can measure all the demand, you don't know how much things should cost. So like this at least kind of gives you the baseline of how much is all of the Bitcoin worth. You know, at least you can get the first primary level asset, multiply the supply by the price of it. And that's not even counting all these economies down line, you know, building on top of it and making sub-currencies backed by it or other assets backed by it. But just the core like that just allows the average man to know much more about the money supply than was ever known. And if you know the top level money supply, you can judge what the price of things should be much better.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So that is like the idea behind how to create coins. What a rug pull does is that when they have raised a lot of money or when they have gotten certain amount of people to buy it, let's say I create 10 pieces of a glass and I find somebody to buy all of them. I say, hey, so I will not make any more glasses. These are the only 10 sets and you can buy 5 of them from me for some amount of money. You choose to buy it for an exorbitant amount because you are a collector, but then I create 50 more and I dump all of it into the market. What that ends up happening is devaluing the glasses that you have. So that is the problem with rug pulls. They create such a huge supply and usually they say that we will not sell it or whatnot. Sometimes the code is faulty by itself. So when you get people to buy or you get the next sucker to buy and then you dump all of your holdings, that becomes a rug pull. Kind of like a Ponzi scheme. Not really a Ponzi scheme, but like a PND.
Call it something like supply manipulation.
Right,
something
exactly.
In that range. Like if you can control the supply, you know who you're going to hurt past buyers, current holders, unless the demand is there and people want your next 50 glasses. And that's like, so as the thing gets bigger, it's a two-sided market. But we're also kind of getting at the topic of scarcity here. And I think over the last year in digital publishing, NFTs have kind of been the groundbreaking in digital scarcity. And they're able to say, how in demand is this item? How rare? Like the items that are really selling, it's because people want 100 of them and they're only selling one, or they want 1 million and they're selling 10, so that's where you get like the, just a lot more buyers and a lot bigger prices. But, with an emerging market comes the scams. And so you're our local pessimist. So I guess I would ask you, could you tell us about some of the best, worst NFT scams?
Oh, yeah. Like right off the top of my head, not really okay, let's start with the scams. So there will be people reaching out to you on Discord, or they would send you some NFT straight away. They say, hey, I sent you this NFT, you could claim it. When you try to claim it, you need to sign a transaction. Nobody verifies what the transaction is unless you are a very good developer. Usually nobody is. So now what happens is when you sign the transaction, you basically sign away the rights to your wallet in a very brief nutshell, a lot of paraphrasing in there. But what you end up doing is you sign away your wallet to somebody else. So now what that somebody else does is takes away whatever ape or NFTs or crypto you had in that wallet. It essentially becomes theirs. Like for example, Opeansea, one of the largest markets right now, probably the largest market right now for NFTs, got exploited for this very feature. What it did basically was listing people's NFTs for sale for whatever value the hacker wanted to sell it to. So imagine if you had a Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Should I just say, ready, set, go, NFT scams on the top of your mind? Best, worst, most awful, most innovative.
Right. I'll go with the most innovative ones because they blew my mind. They were like, they'll send you an NFT or a message saying, hey, this is your NFT. I'm giving it to you for free. Most people try to claim it. And what happens next is when you sign the transaction, in a paraphrased nutshell, what you end up doing is signing away your wallet to somebody else. They take your NFTs, they take your crypto, and now it says, wow. The largest platform right now, OpenSea, recently got exploited for something similar. It could allow people to list NFTs that were hundreds of Ethereum in prices for as low as $120 or something like that. But at the other end, there is human stupidity. I don't want to say like stupidity, I want to use the word gullibility or like whatever. So there was somebody who had a Bored Ape.
I think it's just human error.
It's human error, right? Thank you very much. Error.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody wanted to sell their Bored Ape at 120 ETH. Unfortunately, he listed it at $120.
Wow.
Right. So 1 ETH is about $3,000 right now. More than that. But yeah. So it got sold instantly because somebody was like, okay, why not?
Second human rule. Gotta have someone else review that before you hit post. The internet is a scary place.
It is. People have algorithms trolling quite like the Ether scams for these faulty transactions. Like there are automated bots doing that. Ethereum is called the dark forest, just as you mentioned. Like it is called like that, like trades like that get sniped like that. Vitalik Buterin cannot send one Ethereum from one of his wallets to another because people are watching his wallet, and whatever he tries to sell, people try to front run it.
Jeez.
Good, right?
Who's doing that level of pettiness? Who's the person actually front running, sending these wallets to slow it down?
Right. It's usually very motivated people who are like, let's say, tracking Vitalik's wallet. Like, what tokens is he buying? Because if he's buying something, he's usually getting it a lot. And every major influencer who has his crypto wallet is tracked. People track them because they want to copy their trades or whatnot. That's the beauty and the fault.
Yeah, I would say the growth of the .eth domains is a direct reaction to this. You get, payments to track to a wallet. If people are already tracking it, let's flip it and say it's cool to track my payments. And you can get there quicker now instead of this long series of code and going through everyone else's different scanners and wallet tools. Just, do Smooke.eth.
I agree. And had it been more, let's say, egalitarian or let's say not a first come, first serve kind of a thing, I would have been on board. There are people squatting domains for no reason at all. There is no, at least in the normal internet, if there is an intellectual property.
Where is the normal internet?
Where is the normal internet? Okay, so normal internet for us is like Web2. Whatever is within the realm of Googles and Facebooks and Twitters of the world. But yeah, I guess because I am that old, that for me, what we see or what we used to see a year ago is now normal.
And what do you think the government of Ethiopia, .eth, what do you think they think of their governmental domain is now an Ethereum ending.
Right. So because unfortunately, Ethiopia is a very poor country, and the Ethereum people, at least from what I heard, are in talks with them to get the government to never use it. So they are bribing the government every time, allegedly, to not use the .eth domain ever. Imagine if somebody tried to get the US government to say, okay, so you will
What a
not
crazy
use
licensing
.us.
deal. Yeah,
It is
but
what
this is just a crazy licensing deal. They're like, it's more valuable for us to get paid by the Ethereum community to let them have this 3-letter combination than it is for us to grow up our internet presence as a country in the .eth structure. Like, it's a crazy trade-off. Big time decision.
There's this country, or rather this principality or jurisdiction, British Indian Ocean Territories, BIOTs. They own the .io domain. And sometime 5 years ago, everybody thought .io sounded more technical. And whenever the
we're all about that input-output.
Yeah, it keeps that country or that principality or jurisdiction afloat. Just the sales of these .io domains. What does the country run on? My country runs on export of software, of grains, whatnot. What does your country run on? Export and import of stuff. What do they run on? Domains. We sell domains. My God, these people. But yeah.
But long term, the position of digital assets being your primary export, that sounds like it's going to work. So like, I mean, imagine instead of, your artists like repainting other people's hotel paint, like doing a painting, putting it in a hotel room and you're just imitating. If you encourage those artists right now to start create things that are original, and then the export is like the increased demand for their digital assets. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
It would be good. Yeah, it would be
as an equalizer.
It would be decentralized. So, yes, more power to the people. Sotheby's, their entire business model is what they usually buy stuff on the cheap and sell it at a very expensive price. So that's what they try to do.
Let's talk about some fake exchanges. These cryptocurrency exchanges are doing Super Bowl commercials, and then there's like a million other ones and 25 different levels of decentralization, or use your credit card, whichever one you prefer. Can you tell us about some of the best and worst exchange hacks and crypto and currency heists, in recent history?
Most definitely. To learn about this, I put in $50 of my own money to find out where the rabbit hole led. So it starts off as a message to you, maybe over Telegram or Discord, saying, hey, so we are a channel who are a small exchange and we can manipulate the prices. Some people outright know it's a scam. Some people fall for it because money makes people stop thinking. So I was like, let's see what they do. So they took me to their exchange. They were deposit money into this particular wallet address and it will show up just as in a normal crypto exchange. And by that time, you wouldn't have any idea of knowing whether it's a fake crypto exchange or a real crypto exchange. What you can do to find out whether it's legit or not, go check that wallet address on Etherscan or any of the explorers that exist. Usually, if it's a scam address, it would have comments at the bottom from the people that it's a fake exchange. So when I deposited $50 into that account, it immediately got transferred to some other wallet address. But to me, on the dashboard, it was saying you have $50 worth of crypto or whatnot. You could trade it. So that's one part of the scam where they took away $50 of my money. Then they were like, now we'll raise the amount of tokens that you have by doing our hocus pocus or magic or pump a coin or whatnot. You trade it. It's just a front-end thing. Nothing happens at the exchange level. At the end of the day, they'll say, okay, so now on your $50, you made a $5,000% profit. And to withdraw that, you need to give us 0.1 BTC, right? That's the second arm of the scam. They weren't happy with just taking whatever money people put in. They had an entire funnel to it. So they were like, if you deposit 0.1 BTC to me, you can withdraw your money again. And that's how these scams work. They take money from people, usually gullible people. And I don't want to get into how that works, but yeah. So that's how exchanges usually function. They copy the code of an exchange doing well, replicate its features, but put in checks and places where they can withdraw your money on your behalf.
The irony of these exchanges is like the business model works the best in a monopoly. And then, there's all these competitors and they're like, but it's also one where the more money you have, the more money you have in reserves, the easier it is to do riskier trades, newer coins, like newer offerings. So like there's a clear advantage to, capital accumulation in this industry. If you look at how consolidated the cryptocurrency exchanges are now, how do you think it'll change, in the next decade?
They go towards more code-based exchanges like Uniswaps and Sushi Swaps of the world, where it's not somebody holding this. Although like Uniswaps and Sushi Swaps have their own set of vulnerabilities because the code doesn't know that the price of one Bitcoin is $40,000. It can be fooled into thinking that the price of one Bitcoin is $4 and it will proceed as you want and somebody makes off with that money. Benefit that these Binances have, going back to the wonderful point that you brought up earlier about custodians. When Binance gets hacked, the CEO just has to say funds are SAFU, like safe under whatever. He uses the word SAFU. And people know that, okay, even if the exchange gets hacked, they have enough money in reserves to like make people whole, is what they say in the world of crypto. We will make you whole. But at the end of the day, what if that reserve gets hacked? Because it's also crypto.
Also, it's like, is your reserve the FDIC? Like, okay, the big solution here is to do the same thing that the government conclusion they reach. We have another pool of money in case the small ones get hit and we pull from that. It's like, okay, I guess that's how it works.
Right? The more crypto grows, the more people come to realize that the governments were not really very bad because they're ending up making the same decisions. Censorship is back, right? Holding money in reserves is back.
It's like if inflation is, and not knowing what a dollar's worth is bad. If the government has kept the currency relatively stable, like they did a lot of work to reach that point. It's very hard to keep these things stable.
Look, they get the smartest people in the room, or rather the entire country, to figure out what the monetary policy should be. Should I increase lending rates by 0.5%?
It's a big choice, man. You can't laugh about that stuff.
Yeah. And they have such fancy words for it, like increase it by 50 basis points. And it's like 0.5%, okay? But it's a big thing. Yeah.
The startups will use it too. So instead of saying you own 0.2%, they'll say you have 20 basis points, which sounds like a lot more ownership, I guess. Like, I'd rather know my relation to the pie, even if it's small. I'd rather just know, like, okay, that's how much to the pie. I get it. I'm new here.
Right. But yeah, like, as you said it, like very rightly, like no one really knows what's going to happen. There's no such thing as the normal internet. Scams happen inside and outside of crypto. And maybe like that's where we are, like, which is why some people think it's okay to be under the umbrella of the government than be under this dark forest where I could get sniped anytime. Like, can I sleep easier at night thinking my money is safe? Or can I sleep easier at night thinking that, okay, my money is in MetaMask, but if I live in Venezuela, I can get blocked. Those people got blocked.
Oh my gosh. Venezuela has really been at the heart of a lot of these cryptocurrency stories.
Yeah. It's more of a political thing, and I don't get the logic behind it in my libertarian mindset, that why punish the people for the actions of the few? Because those few are already exploiting the people. Now foreign powers come in to exploit the people even more. You can't buy your stuff. You need to migrate. Like 63% or like 52% was the last when I checked inflation in Argentina. Like 52% is like what? Your price of stuff is doubling every 2 days.
That's so crazy. I mean, how do you buy food?
You probably, like, those people are, at least I get told in my little Bitcoin echo chamber, everybody over there uses Bitcoin. But I have some friends over there. A burger costs like 15,000 pesos. Salaries over there in millions of pesos. Amounts to what? A few $1,000, maybe $1,000, 7.9 something million pesos.
So before there was Bitcoin, they would have to go all the way back to barter system. Like if inflation gets too high where you can't do it, you have to bring your goods and try and trade that way. So like there is this Goldilocks something area, if the government is too unstable, you have digital currency as opposed to going back like a whole nother economic, exchange level where you have to barter.
Yeah.
And I still like barter. I love bartering.
It makes sense.
Not like haggling over low prices, but I do like the idea of like trading like a lot of software for a lot of software.
Most definitely, even at the local level, right? I just moved into this house. I had no stuff. And if I need something, I just go to the neighbors and like take it from them. Like, is that not barter? Like I usually ask for it. Sometimes I return it.
Do you come with an offering too? You have to offer them before you ask, right?
Yeah, like what I did was there was this broken, like some skylight on top. I got that fixed. I didn't ask them to share money or like share the cost on that. And I was like, in return, I can come over to your place for dinner anytime I want.
Yeah, so this light, it was like broken and it was valuable to this group of houses here.
Exactly. It was a skylight. It was just between me and my like immediate neighbor. And yeah, so I paid for it. It wasn't even a lot of money. And they were like, yeah, come over for dinner anytime you want, any time of the year. I'm like, fine. Is that not barter? That works.
I think that's good first. You just knew it would come back good. And it's selfish because you share the light. So like,
exactly.
You're also fixing it for yourself.
Yeah. And with countries like Argentina or even Zimbabwe, so they had an intermediary step. They started using the US dollar. The problem that was, again, the supply was like controlled. You needed to have fiat because you couldn't put that in the banks because the banks won't let you withdraw your money. So they needed to have it in cash form. When you have it in cash form, the sellers were selling it at exorbitant markups. USD was 20% more expensive in Argentina than anywhere else in the world. So yeah, so for these problems, like these things that usually happen because there is a human element involved, Bitcoin tries to fix that. But Bitcoin has its own set of human problems and a whole set of code problems. So yeah, coming back to the point, like no one really knows what's going on, which is why we're here.
All right. So would you like to take this opportunity to share your private keys?
Of course, right? Private keys, the best area on like Twitter right now is if you are ever feeling lonely, tweet the word MetaMask, right? 100 people will automatically message you because these are all bots saying, hey, so are you trying to reach MetaMask support? Fill out this form. It has a very, not really a legit looking. It is a Google form, asks you for a bunch of stuff that looks legit. The last question is, give me your secret key or like share your private key in there, share your secret passphrase in there. People think it's a legit thing. They share it. Once it's shared, it's gone.
Phishing's never going to die. It's just going to keep changing. It's sad, but
yeah, it is what it is. Like so many other types of scams, they'll send you their own private key. So you would think, okay, that makes sense, but that's a scam too. So what they'll do is they'll say, hey, so I'm in, let's say the current bad guy is Russia. So they'll say, I'm in Russia. My government is not letting me trade my crypto. I'm giving you my private keys. Do with it whatever you want. What could go wrong? So they're like wallets, when you access it, you'll see it has about $1,000 in it or $2,000 in it in various small other altcoin currencies. You'll think, okay, that's free money for me. What could be the problem? So
wait, let me guess. Yeah. Of the altcoins, what type of asset is some of that? Like that's the Trojan horse in there. What is it?
It is very close. Sometimes it is that, but most scammers are not as sophisticated as you think. So what they do is they send you the private key, but the wallet doesn't have gas fees to pay for it. So you don't have Ethereum for it. So you think, okay, sending money to my own wallet is going to cost me $50. I'll put in $75 because I want to put in gas and then withdraw money. So sometimes they'll put in $50, $75. As soon as they put that in, that gets withdrawn. So by giving people the bait of $2,000, people take away $75 from them. Yeah. And that is some of the scams that I have been trying to follow and find, like, how can we be more knowledgeable about these things. Hopefully, the people seeing this are now more informed and more aware of these scams, thanks to HackerNoon.
And if you made it to this point in the podcast, we apologize for no microphones. I'm currently in a phone booth in Denver. Phone booths still exist. And Utsav's microphone is in transit. So, hopefully the next time you hear these sultry voices will be much crisper and clearer.
And less sultry.
Thank you, and good night.
Have a good one, guys, and thank you for having me.
Podcast. HackerNoon Podcast.